On today's video, it's all gratin potatoes. My house smells so good. I wish you were here. Stay tuned. I'll show you how to do it. Hi. Hi. Welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. And our channel is all about how we eat two different ways and how we merge that into our household. And we thought it would be helpful for other people. So Joe eats the standard American diet and I eat whole food, plant-based to cure my migraines, which is working. So today is all about au gratin potatoes. You know, the cheesy, thinly sliced potatoes. And I got inspiration from the internet. Well, number one, Joe and I thought this could be a good recipe ahead of Easter, which we will probably have these for Easter, even though we're making this much earlier than Easter. But I took inspiration from the Pioneer Woman for Joe's dish, and then my mom's vegan for mine. But then I kind of used a little bit of each. So I will link both of those recipes and tell you the different things that I did. So let's start with Joe's. Now, as you can see, I have already sliced up all the onions and all the potatoes for both dishes. I am using, Joe likes russets and I love golds. So I'm using russets for his and gold for mine. I was concerned about his not getting done because the potatoes were massive. So I pre-cooked them in the microwave. So that's why you'll see that there's a little steam coming from them. And then for proof that we did it, there's the dirty mandolin over there. But there was no reason for you to watch me, shred them. So let's start with the sauce for Joe's. So right here, I've got 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream and 1/2 cup of whole milk. And now I need to add the other ingredients to it. So she says you need to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. So you're basically making, for Pioneer Woman, you are making this sauce that's going to be layered in with your potatoes. And then pepper. She says lots of pepper. We also love pepper. So I'm going to keep going on the pepper, not measuring it. Then at the end is when you add cheese to hers. Whereas mine, the cheese is from the beginning. And we'll get there. And I've got some seasoned salt for Joe's. And then we need some garlic. So I've got 4 cloves of garlic here. Yep, the pepper got me, folks. It's a live cooking show. So let's get the 4 cloves of garlic in, and then that would complete her sauce that you're going to layer in between the layers. So do you like scalloped potatoes? And if you do, which kind of potatoes do you like? Red, gold, russets? I mean, there's so many. I wouldn't do sweet potatoes necessarily. I don't find sweet potatoes cheesy, but you could make them without a cheesy sauce. Like you could make this type of sauce without the cheese in it, and that could work okay. Okay, so we've got our garlic here. So now let's stir this sauce up. And I'm sure the flour, that's going to help thicken it up once it's in between the layers of the potatoes. So both, I think you could adjust, you could double or half it if you want, depending on the size that you're cooking for. I'm kind of eyeballing both of those based on, dishes that I have. So, okay, because like Ree says, 4 russet potatoes. Well, hold on. Russet potatoes can be this big, excuse me, or this big. And these were massive, so that's why I went with just the 2. Okay, so for the Pioneer Woman, you butter your dish first. And then you start layering in. So I'm going to put my first layer of the potatoes down. Now, I know some people, I know the recipe for my mom's vegan. She does the pretty layers. Yeah, I'm not that patient. So I'm not doing that. So as you can see, I cut Joe's thicker because they're partially cooked and they were like falling apart in the mandolin. So she does 3 layers. Now where I'm where I'm merging the recipes is Joe agreed with me. The suggestion of layering the onions in between, we thought that was a great idea. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to put some onions in here. And then we're going to put some of this sauce. Okay, and now more potatoes. You do this 3 times in Joe's dish, which I'm going to mimic that in my dish. More onions. More sauce, maybe a little bit more. And now the last of his potatoes. Oh my goodness. This is already making my mouth water. Okay, and then...
Thick batch.
Huh?
That's a good thick batch.
Well, good. I'm glad you're happy with that, babe. You can't go wrong with Pioneer Woman recipes, I don't think. I think they always turn out good. Okay, so that's Joe's, and then you cover with foil and you bake it in the oven. Now, both are 400 degrees, and both are, for Pioneer Woman, she says cover it, bake it for 30 minutes, then uncover and bake for the last 20. For this one, she says cover for the whole hour. So what I'm going to do is when I pull it out after 30, I'm going to check them both and see what I want to do there. So, but at least I got the first one done. So let's slide that in because I'll turn I've got the oven going. So let's talk about my sauce. So she linked a recipe for Brand New Vegans cheese sauce, which you can do. It starts with the potatoes, and you boil the potatoes, and then you put them in the blender with the cheese sauce, but with the nutritional yeast. But I'm telling you, this stuff is my absolute favorite to make a cheese sauce. I don't know how much. I think it's like $13 or $14. It makes a ton when you get it. This is like almost all the way full. And it's like if you use a cup of water, you use a half a cup of the cheese sauce. Now, because this is a more decadent recipe, what Dylan suggests is that you soak cashews. So a quarter cup for his full recipe here. I used a quarter cup, but I doubled the recipe, but I didn't double the cashews because the cashews have a lot of fat in them, which makes the cheese sauce very decadent, but I'm supposed to not be eating much fat. And so I wanted to make it decadent, but not too decadent. So, and then you just blend it all. I usually soak my cashews for about 20 minutes with boiling water and then add all the ingredients. I took Ree's suggestion about the 4 cloves of garlic, and I added it to the cheese sauce. Now, what my mom's vegan says to do is after you make your cheese sauce, you need to thin out a little bit with milk. And then she does it all at the top of it and then like taps this down. Well, I thought I kind of liked Ree's idea of layering it in between, especially since I'm not doing the fancy in a circle. So I did not butter mine. Oh, let me show you this. So, and she says in the recipe, depending on the thickness of your cheese sauce, I just made this, that's pretty thick. So I am going to actually put some in a container or in a thing, and I'm going to add some milk to it to thin it out some. Because the part about our Gratin Potatoes is it's a cheesy sauce, but it's got to be somewhat thin because that's what's kind of cooking these potatoes. So I'm going to add half a cup of the cheese sauce, and I'm going to add 1 cup of cheese sauce, and I think it's a little bit over, and about 1 cup of some non-flavored soy milk. And I'm going to mix these two, and then I'm going to make that and if I got to do this again, I've got more in there. But it just makes it, and I'm not sponsored by Well Your World in the least, but they have some great recipes. You know, I love to cook, but I'm not always the most original with my recipes. But I can search the internet and figure out if something's going to be somewhat good just because I've been cooking so long. So you don't have to feel like you have to do it all. You can use help from all these other resources. So I've got my first layer of gold potatoes. Now I did not pre-cook my gold. So I've got some onions here, and now I'm going to layer some of see, that's perfect. See, it's more of the consistency of the Pioneer Woman one. I may have cut too many of my potatoes, but I can cook them a different way if they won't layer in here. So more of these, and I cut the golds a little thinner because they are raw. So that will work just fine. I think these onions are just going to like melt down in there. I think they are going to be awesome. So more of the cheese sauce. And I might be able to do 4 layers in this one. That might finish my potatoes really well. And I can tell you already what I'm going to serve with these potatoes. Broccoli. Steamed broccoli is going to taste phenomenal with cheesy potatoes, I think. Okay. Let's do one more. And now we've got a few potatoes, so I'm going to put them on here. And I think it needs some more cheese sauce. Now, I know I run the risk of, Joe, could you get the smoked paprika out? I think I want to add that to the top of mine, please. Because I don't want any kind of salt or anything. So I am going to put more of this cheese sauce in here. And I'm going to thin it down, thank you, with more milk. So that I have one more nice layer of the cheese sauce on top. Because this is all going to meld down and cook down together. It's going to be phenomenal. I don't know how anything could go bad with potatoes, onions, and cheese sauce, right? Okay, so. Do you want smoked paprika on yours? I assume not. Okay. Plus, I think this will be super pretty when it comes out. Okay, so again, we're going to cover it with foil, and then we're going to let the oven do all the work. And after 30 minutes, I'm going to check both, see if I'm going to leave the covers on. So I will tell you what I end up doing, and I will also put it in the description box. So we will see you in a, and plus this is one of those dishes that, like lasagna, it is best if you wait like 10 minutes to actually dig into it, because you want, you don't want to like pull all the cheese out with one, especially for like Joe's, with one scoop. So you kind of want it all settle. The other thing is Joe's will, you put the cheese on it and you just put it back in for like 5 or 6 minutes, and it's sharp cheddar cheese is what she said to you. So we will get that done, and we will see you guys back here in about 1 hour. Okay, so we're back. It has been about an hour and 10 minutes. So how it went down was after 30 minutes on 400 degrees, I took the foil off of this one, the Whole Food, the standard one, because that's what Ree Drummond said to do in her recipe for Pioneer Woman, but left the foil on here. Then it said in 20 minutes, take it out and add the cheese. So I put another timer on for 20 minutes. So that put us at 50 minutes. I took them both out, took the foil off this one. Foil was already off this one. I added the shredded cheese, put them back in. After 5 minutes, I took this one out, but I left this one for another 5 minutes. So this took a total of 60, and this took 55 minutes, and now they've been cooling for about 10 minutes so we don't burn our ever-loving mouth off. So now it's time to dig in and show you what all this looks like. So Joe, if you want to come in and do yours, and I'll come in and do mine. As I said before, I plan to have broccoli with mine, but we actually are on our way to pick up our next Foster, so we're not going to have our full amount. We're just going to, I want to show you a good piece and how that looks. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And see, the layers are staying together because we let this cool. You know, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So we'll see if we need more seasoning. Like my potatoes are cooked. Like you can go all the way through. They're tender. Yours
you can
cooked?
See those onions in there.
They should be really,
Nice and soft.
Oh my gosh, they're going to be so good. So it's still pretty hot. We might still burn our mouth a little bit. You going in for more pepper? Oh goodness, guys. This is phenomenal. Those potatoes are perfectly cooked. But they're not so overly cooked. Like they're not.
No.
They're like perfectly tender. Oh my goodness. Add this to your menu. We're gonna have to make these.
Definitely add just what I thought they'd add to flavor, but you really don't have the texture because they're so soft.
They kind of like melted in there. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, guys.
And you get that crispy edge on the outside.
Mm-hmm. That's what I like, is crispy edge. This is super good. So do yourself a favor. Put these on your menu. You could feed everybody. You could also add greens to these. You could add broccoli to them. I mean, bacon. There's lots of different things you could add to them, or you could just keep them as simple as this, as a side dish. Joe had a pot roast that he cooked yesterday, so my guess is he's going to have this with pot roast and some peas probably, and I'm going to have mine with broccoli. So thank you so much for joining us. Let us know in the comments, what are your favorite potatoes to use for au gratin potatoes? And if you like what you see, if you could like it or share it, and if you'd like to be notified every time we put out a video, if you could subscribe, it'll notify you each time. Every Wednesday night we put out a video. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week.